Give him the guns.
Salud.
Salud. Welcome back, guys. How's it going? Rhetorical question. But welcome back to another episode of the StratOCast. I'm your host, Stratts, as always. And today, with me again, Logan Wolf.
It's me.
It's Logan.
Hi.
We're happy to have Logan back. It's been a good
So, do you want
today.
to talk about kiddie porn and adrenochrome?
Let's do it. Yes.
Let's do it.
No, we don't want to do that.
Well,
today, a little bit something a little more simple. Probably some people have been asking. They don't really know why we've even started this. It was just kind of a spur of the moment thing. Obviously, some people might be confused what's going on, but
it's because none of us play an instrument. And we all wanted to be in a band.
We're basically starting a band. This is the 20th
this is what
band.
it is.
And
no,
so,
I really. Someone's asking you why you're starting a podcast. I don't know. What do you say to that?
Well, our idea was, I remember when we first met. We met at Toys R Us, and I think we were just driving home one day from work. And we're just having a good conversation like we always do. And you were going on a great rant like you always do. And I was just like, fuck, man, you're awesome. Like, this is awesome. You're awesome. People would love to hear this. Like, we should record you. We should record you.
That's what you were initially saying.
Yeah.
And I had to sort of get over, like... Yeah, no.
My idea was just to record you.
The sort of selfish idea that it's like, no, I wouldn't mind that.
You were my full
part of me
inspiration.
was like, yeah, I would absolutely, I would jump on. If someone had one of those things, I would totally sit around and be like, what do you want to talk about?
Yeah.
There's 1,000 things on my mind. There's never a moment when there's not something on my mind.
Exactly.
So every job I've ever had, which is dozens, it's always been something where you're left by yourself and your mind wanders into like, yeah, no, the unions kind of made sense. And I think we've been brainwashed to believe they're useless and kind of sort of are now. But, I mean, when you look at, like, what would a livable wage look like? What would it, like, what the hell? How can two people working full-time have to send a kid to daycare? What the hell is daycare? Why are daycare and seniors' homes even a thing? Like, there's a lot of things on my mind that I'm always like, yeah, I'll talk about any of them at length.
We were probably talking about that in the car. But going off on something, you were my full inspiration to do everything. I just wanted to record you, put you on camera, and let everybody watch you. I thought you were going to be the famous one. I'm like, Logan, everyone's going to love Logan.
That's right, they will.
Yeah, everyone's going to love this guy.
Great.
He's great.
I'm great.
That's what I thought.
Well, it's very kind of you. Thank you very much.
But
very nice.
It took like over 2 years to like actually probably record anything, especially with you in the room.
Yeah.
But I got a camera, and I started playing around with the camera. It took me a year to actually upload anything with that camera, this is all of it. This has been like a learning curve.
That's all it has to be, yeah.
And that's all it is. And that's the starting the podcast.
I don't know what I'm doing. Get better.
I don't.
That's all you can do. Get better. Just keep trying and get better.
Joe Rogan had a thing on like a few times where he's talking to Dan Carlin or Duncan Trussell, and he's saying like, if you're not good at it and you're passionate about it, just get better at it. And like that's what it was all about. Yeah. Like I love this shit. And I just wanted to do it and get better at it.
I listen to like people
at
work that you train on whatever the task is, and like they're going off about how they have how many types of disorders. I have anxiety disorder. And I'm really bad at this, and I'm really bad at this, and it's like, well, everyone is the first, and you're only 17, so of course you're gonna like. It's like who's training these people to think that you need a disorder to describe that? You're just anxious. You're just young. Now youth and everything has an itis and a syndrome that has a medicine for it that eventually is going to keep these kids hooked for life on what is like...
It's insane.
Pharmaceutical meth and pharmaceutical...
It's meth.
Like, it's really, really passionate part of my life is like drugs are the only conversation that is happening when you're talking about like geopolitics, food.
Food is like basically drugs. Sugar is a drug.
Basically, it is.
Yeah, like, of course like carbs is a drug. Like literally, it's insane.
I hear you get it from like the druggist, the alchemist, pardon me, but you actually get sugar from like the pharmacist as it is in like the
called a sugar pill.
Sweden and Norway area.
Yeah,
I could be totally wrong on that, but I remember reading a headline around that where it's like they treat it as what it is, where it's like as you should. I mean, sugar's lovely, but I mean, if you're having a spoonful here and there, nice. I'm not going to be another person to say in moderation.
Yeah,
but Obviously,
I used to be a monster.
when you're talking about how you're kicking the Pepsi demon, I've seen him drink so. As someone who has been ear beaten by people telling me not to eat to eat sweetener, my whole life is like.
Anybody who knows me, that's watching this,
it's a better alternative.
Knows me as like the Pepsi guy. Like I drank a lot of Pepsi.
So much soda.
Yeah,
and Eric too, a friend of ours. We should definitely have him on this podcast.
Yeah, he was here earlier today. We had a great
such a
conversation.
Sweet. I love that man. I moved to this island with him because he was another person like you that was kind and was just like. No, come. You know what? Throw your shit in my garage. You can live in my basement. Yeah. And I just did for a bit, and I didn't know what the heck. I was trying to just clear the living room in my head of like, what is going on? What is all this? Yeah. When you're trying to do one of these things where you're a young guy and you're just like, you know what? I'm not going to get messed up with women. And and then you get into this like the what they're now giving as a George Carlin lover, I love to sort of follow the language. So when you find a new word, when they invent a new word, it's an interesting thing when they invent a new classification, a new division in us, because that's all they talk about is how to separate us. So when they talk about a new way to classify us, a new division of us, it's something of I'm very sensitive with censorship, and so the newest one is this involuntarily celibate, which they're calling Incel. This guy was incel. When they say that there was an assassination or something, there was some some crazy violence in America happens again, right? And when the guy admits that the group that he's part of online is the incel group, this is the neckbeards that the trolls are always making fun of. This is the sort of the unfuckable men, the men who have sort of in many different classifications. There's a group that essentially consists of a large part of them are people who now vilify women for dozens of reasons because of experiences they've had. And all women are now the worst. They were cheated on once, so they're all the worst.
That is a thing.
You know? So like you meet the guy that just hates women. That is just like it's extremely common. And so there's this group, and I think the involuntarily celibate. So that when you engage in some sort of celibacy of sort, it's fascinating because it's all a mind-altering experience. You become a different sort of animal. You're now an animal that's not fucking. Yeah. And so that animal does become a different thing. Totally. And when you transition, that's when you sort of lose your mind. It's a spiritual thing. It is. I've been there. When you take veganism on for a bit, when you take celibacy on for a little bit, when you take exercise on for a little bit, it feels like you're taking the musical instrument that is the core of you, that pureness that you experience on beautiful substances that sort of just let you fall into yourself. Yeah. And you experience the God self, and that thing, when you twist it a bit, when you just sort of be like, can you do this? And you feel that Care Bear stare of just like, man, I'm cool. Totally. It's such a gift to be a healthy male.
Absolutely, it's a gift. Oh my god, it's amazing.
Male specifically, because I just think like as far as like running the gamut of bullshit, the amount of shit you gotta. Well, not only do I know that my ancestors did all this crazy stuff. If I was a woman, I'd be like, yeah, the ancestors did that crazy stuff, and I was property 2 people ago.
Right.
Property. Right. To these beasts. Yeah. You'd be in that weird mindset. So it's like, no, I kind of. Yeah, this thing is very, very lucky. Like, it's Louis C.K's whole thing of, like, time travel. It's like, you know how lucky it is to be a white guy?
Oh, my God,
get a time travel machine and go to any time.
You can do anything.
If I was a black guy, go back to the, like, when can you go back to before you're just...
Yeah, no doubt.
It's really just... It's bizarre how fast shit changes, but not just to comment on like how fast history changes, but how not because it doesn't really. It's interesting to me how fast the text changes, how fast the writing on the wall changes, and how trained we are to adapt. Oh, that's how we think now, and how everyone's on the same page. And that has been trained into us to be acceptable here. Is acceptable here. I believe the problem with our us over here versus the them over there, and the difference is sort of like the intellect that is the banter of overseas, why our education sucks, and the points they have, and some of the counterpoints to like, we actually do have a lot of scientists over here, and we do have all that's kind of that noise. Anyways, I lost my train of thought on that one, didn't I? But
But when I was thinking about that kind of stuff and thinking about perspective and like thinking about like we're so lucky to be born where we are the time.
Yeah.
But like that kind of stuff, that's a part of your. I think that's a part of your mental health. Thinking about perspective. If people don't think
absolutely,
if people don't think perspective-wise and think of all these different ways of thinking, if they're just like too wrapped up in their bubble, which happens to everyone knows these people.
Great.
Like that's a part of their mental health, and health is what we're talking about.
So mental health, a great way that I've sort of used as a visual reference to sort of when you begin to try and have empathy for another person. Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance.
It's a good book.
A fantastic book. Another one, Jupiter's Travel. Guy motorcycle 4 years around the world. Fucking phenomenal.
Yeah.
But in one of those books, both highly recommended. I've read like 6 books my whole life, so really, come on. But like these ones were just huge. But like the idea that you sort of take a handful of sand from around the world and you call that handful of sand your world, because that is what and so the experiences you sort of can only hold so much, but that so much is only what you've actually held.
Yeah.
So it's just because you're part of the planet doesn't actually mean that you experience the whole planet. You can attempt to, and that is what you see with the internet phenomenon, is that this is our first attempt at feeling us around the world, but it is not completely us, and so it looks gross at first. That's because it's the most extreme parts of us you first see. The violence, the hate, you see that more than you
anger.
See.
And the extreme joy.
Yeah.
But there is that. Boasting their joy.
But I mean, in the sort of the way that the math unfortunately works is it takes a very small amount of black paint to ruin an entire bucket of white.
I think
it takes an entirely different reverse when you go the other way.
Well, let me talk about
a little bit of shit. No, I'm just saying, like a little bit of shit does ruin. Yeah, there's a million different ways to say it, but like the loudest people, unfortunately, get the majority of the concentration, and that's the unfortunate side with the birth of the internet. That was its first real recognizable hiccup. Was like, oh god, now every idiot has a voice.
Yeah, and that's what social media is, and that's
they're idiots.
And that's what it was at the first. Everybody was either boasting
You're
their great life
social
or hating
media.
Their stuff. It's all media, I know.
It's just
but
media.
that's what everybody knows that as, okay?
Yeah.
But it is a media.
Know.
I have a media. We have part of a media company now, so I know what media is. But the podcast thing, that's a new kind of media, right? That's different than your tweets and your Instagram posts, right? And your Facebook stuff.
They're more interactive.
People know
media.
who you are.
I would call it interactive media.
Interactive media,
I'm
sure.
more friendly with, that's more accurate.
It's a fantastic medium.
Because all media is social.
Where,
Star Trek is telling me how to act in my home and life lessons and stuff. So it's it's all social media because it's telling its people, this is why we're watching it. It's for to be better than, I wish I was, isn't she hot? It's all this. It's reference point shit.
Yeah.
So it's all social media, social studies.
Exactly.
That's what this show is. So when they tell me it's social media, it doesn't make sense because it's all interactive media. I think is a more appropriate. There we go. I finally found a phrase. I've been searching for that for a while. So there we go.
I'm proud of you.
Thank you. Interactive media. But just stop making such a stink about that word. I'll stop now because I finally found it.
Thank you. I'm glad. I'm very glad.
Sorry, everyone.
But people can with the podcast, people can see into your people just realness. People if they can, if they take the time, they can find like-minded individuals.
Yeah, I love them.
Just have some fun conversations. I listen to them nonstop these days.
Have you found anything new that you'd recommend? Because we both listen to Joe.
Oh my god, there was a brand new episode of the Minimalist podcast. See, that was one of the first podcasts I listened to was the Minimalist podcast. It's fantastic.
Who's that?
It's 2 guys called Ryan Nicodemus and Joshua Fields Milburn, and they're 2 fantastic guys. They started a big trend called minimalism. They didn't really start it, but they took off and ran with it.
Have
with
they been on any
blogging and
podcasts or anything?
They have their own podcast. It's called the Minimalist Podcast. They have over 100 episodes.
How did you find them?
They're on Spotify. They're one of the top podcasts on Spotify and stuff.
All right.
Yeah,
and they just shoot the shit that's wicked?
They have a documentary on Netflix, and they have cool. They talk about living a meaningful life with less. And it's a fantastic episode, stuff. They got rid of most of their stuff, and they lived in the corporate world. They got rid of all their stuff.
2 individual dudes living independently.
And
they're not with women.
They are both with women now.
Okay.
The one is with a pretty minimalistic woman when she has a child. The other one's with a not so minimalistic person.
And then it becomes different because I think you could successfully argue that minimalism is, in a lot of ways, very spiritually influenced.
It's all in the mind, right?
Yeah.
It's all in the mind.
It's a way of twisting that.
They have 100
right?
episodes, right? So they go into like.
So then
it's so
personally, my immediate is forcing a kid into that.
Yeah.
If we do it, that's the weird. Like why?
That's you should. They talk about that. They talk about all the stuff. It's a good podcast.
Richard Dawkins' whole philosophy and
it's not about
theory. Like, there's no such thing as a Christian kid. There's no such thing as a minimalist kid. There's no such thing as a Republican kid. They're just a kid.
Exactly.
But when you see them forced into this concentrated way to be, it's like,
You listen to the podcast.
Yeah, no, that sounds interesting. It really does sound
like
interesting.
They talk about all that stuff,
Yeah,
and they're like,
interesting.
They say everybody. It's like everybody's different. Everybody has a thing, right? It's not like it's not for you. It's not for you. It's just a mindset kind of that they play with, right?
No, I'm not. I don't object to what they're doing at all. I've dabbled.
But that's what it's all about. I know you're kind of minimalistic yourself. Obviously.
I have no real attachment. That my problem is finding attachment to the world.
Yeah.
Is understanding that, like, no, it's not fair to those people to leave a corpse. They didn't want to make a corpse, so it's unfair to them. As long as they're around, all right, I'll stick around for those assholes. But once those assholes are out of the way, then I'm absolutely allowed. That's the one thing keeping me here, is that I'm allowed. Like, as Hunter S. Thompson said, it inspired me in high school like a motherfucker. But I remember him was quoted once to say that, like, the one thing that keeps him on this planet is the knowledge that at any moment he has the right to pull the trigger and take him out of this world.
Yeah, or they could just have him.
That's the mind. It's like, no, really. I know my way out of here will be by my own hands, and it won't be soon. Yeah. But it will be before I'm ever in a situation where the place that I work, a retirement home. Because I just think that there's such a strange thing.
Oh, yeah.
There's such a strange thing that need people to actually give a shit, but at the same time, I don't think they should exist.
Well, I don't want to end there because, like, I want to be healthy the whole time. I just want to be healthy.
That, but that's not the point. The point is the fact that it's like, you shove them
Hopefully
off
you can
there.
fight that stuff off.
It's 99% white people. It's a race thing. It's a very, very interesting race thing.
Huh. Fair enough.
There's no First Nation. Is that I don't know. It's like there's one black person, there's one Asian person, and we're mixed everywhere else, but except here. Where the East Indian women people, they all live with their families. But we're all running around chasing shit. Minimalism ties right into that. You're all chasing shit to stick to your shell. So much so that you don't have, like, another part of it too feels that this institution has been facilitated and sold to us as a way of sucking their money from ever getting the trickle-down effect to the kids. Because, I mean, if grandma and grandpa have enough money to spend like $10,000 a month to sit in a home, and that is a relatively new thing, because, I mean, grandma lived on the acreage and then died and was buried in the family cemetery.
Yeah.
Like, everyone was connected to farmland. This is a relatively, when you consider these buildings and how, like, elder abuse.
Yeah, just buried them.
Holy shit! This is a relatively new thing, and here it is, just like hospices are this thing, and there's some elbow room with like putting them to death simply, and it's weird. It feels like a little bit of 100 years from now, looking back on it, being like, your great uncle Logan worked at one of those death facilities.
Yeah, basically like a death facility.
You know, I've seen. You get used to corpses, and it's like, it really is just like, I really understand it's flesh, and you just we really have some fun time. If you love meditation and you can smoke weed, mix them both, and
do that.
And I listened to Duncan Trussell had him on the other day.
Another meditation. Great guy.
One of the he's my number one favorite. He's every Joe Rogan, Duncan Trussell in the early days, like 141, 145, 147. These ones I've listened to like old records. I love those podcasts so much. There are like 10 Black Mirror episodes in there. There's so much good conversation there. That guy's amazing. But his last one was like meditation practice. And so listening to it, it's like, you're sort of checking yourself of like, okay, what am I doing? Because it's like...
He's so funny.
He's so on point.
I just love that guy's humor. He's one of the biggest inspirations. I was going to say, like, those minimalist guys, like, at first, like, Joshua Fields Millburn, Ryan Nicodemus, guys like Joe Rogan, Duncan Trussell, Chris Ryan.
Yep. The TriCast.
Guys like YouTubers like Casey Neistat and shit. There's like so many people that are just like just huge inspirations, and they're just like
another one.
People that you can just talk to.
A new one I found for you. A new one.
Like-minded individuals. Did
you ever watch Dirty Jobs or any of that?
Yeah, Mike Rowe.
So he has his own, because I mean he is the voice of voices.
I've seen that one on Spotify.
He has The Way I Heard It. That's The Way I Heard It.
Yeah.
They're 10-minute podcasts. He's very cheeky with his commercials. He peppers them in like 5 minutes into him talking. So watch out for that. But I mean, about 4 minutes into it, you get this story that will be interesting, and you'll be like leading on a puzzle, and then the badoom boom tsh is always who it's about at the end. It is phenomenal. It's 6 minutes, so I mean, if you have time to sit and have a joint, or smoke a cigarette, or have a cup of coffee, you have 6 minutes of just sitting and listening to it's brief. It's enough you can get into a 15-minute work break.
Yeah.
You could plan a 6-minute Mike Rowe little, like, him talking about a thing, and it's like you learn something really interesting about Neil Armstrong,
of course,
John Deere, Clint Eastwood, like really, really interesting little stories. If you ever get a chance, it's a 10-minute podcast for you. Mike Rowe's, the fuck is it called? That's The Way I Heard It.
Yeah.
I've
seen it on Spotify.
So, extremely good.
Cool. That's a good one.
I recommend. I listened to that, Duncan, Chris Ryan, and Joe. That's pretty much it.
The thing I was going to say, the last episode that Minimalists just did, like the second one, it was called School, because all their episodes are just one word titles. But the one was about school, and it was just fantastic.
What do they cover?
Just the idea about how going to college is basically obsolete these days.
Holy shit!
Yeah,
it's such
how it's just a silly idea being like,
and the fact that people
it's a bureaucratic idea being pushed on bureaucrats who don't actually feel the consequences of the school system anyway. So they're making the decisions. What the hell? Yeah, all that stuff. It's a good episode.
So you guys are gonna like everyone. I lived in an area that had a prominent university for Canada. Like a lot of people do. We all live near a pretty big university. And everyone's claim to fame was that they're going there and they're going to go there.
That's what they talk about. They talked about it's a safe thing to do.
It always sounds to me like, so it's the prestige of going there?
Exactly.
And then what happens after you get out? Because you end up in the same job market I'm in.
It's like that thing we talked about earlier.
The interesting thing now, when you get onto school, the thing that I've discovered in my own life is that I am more sought after in my field. Like, I'm paid more than people who've gone to school.
I know, man.
Right?
People say school's the way, but I just don't know about that.
Because I didn't go to school, I went to the other school I had lots of jobs and I did a little travel.
Yeah.
Right? That line of schooling has put me in an effect where I'm way more effective at work. I absolutely understand what's going on and how to work with, like, they'll yak on and on about how sports are so good for people learning life lessons, and sports are the best for so many things. Sports are the best, and it's like,
sports are good.
Yeah, okay. Everything is.
Yeah.
Every practice has value.
I agree.
The one thing sport people do is they love talking about not the head injuries. That's what they love talking about. They love talking about everything but the head injuries.
No, I do like talking about that.
No, that one's crazy. You're crazy for that one? The baseball, that was stupid.
All of them are insane. Like, once they get to the high levels, like, just stop. Like, just stop going so hard.
I was never a lover of them.
Yeah,
so
it's just
I
insane.
just always hear it, and it's like, no, there's value in any practice. If you were hammering, you figure stuff out about yourself. That's because time is applicable with wisdom. Time and wisdom plus ape. Over an extended period of time, hopefully your wisdom points are going up. Yeah. Hopefully you become a little wiser and wiser along the way, because it's just experience points from time on planet Earth.
Yeah.
So if you're doing sports, cool, you're doing something. As long as you're doing something.
Exactly.
My skill from never doing sports, I never participated with anyone, I never played well with others, but now I'm paid more than people went to school. I'm not paid a lot. I'm just saying that, like, don't get paid enough. Yeah. Because a maintenance guy shouldn't get paid more than a nurse, because that's crazy.
Yeah.
That really is crazy. So, but maintenance guy, because why are you handy? Well, I have this list of a resume because of this experience.
Yeah.
And the experience is not the school.
Exactly.
Everyone else coming with a resume doesn't look as good as the guy that didn't go to school.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
You traveled the world and you did a bunch of shit.
It hurt because I always, it's like a 15-year-old was like, I bet this is true. And then it comes true and you're just like, fuck. The world is actually as fucked as I thought it was. How fucked up is that?
Yeah.
How fucked up is it to be kind of right?
Yeah. And when you say, like, you should always be doing something, that's of course right. Whether it's traveling, that's doing something. You always learn stuff traveling. like doing something. You can go to school maybe if it's
but what
for the
you're
right
saying
reason,
with
but
travel,
I don't
what's the point
agree.
of travel? Is what you were saying before with detribalization. It's the perspective. To get back where you were starting with this was
of course
why the podcasts are so good. That's why travel broadens the mind. That cliche exists because it's true. Because it has to. Because when you begin to see that everywhere has made up bullshit, that's what detribalization is, and you realize it's like, no, jeans are weird, cereal aisles are weird, soda aisles are weird. There's weird stuff in this world.
Walmart's weird.
Walmart is fascinating.
Yeah, all that stuff.
Goldfish, flu shot, oil change,
Costco.
mattress.
I don't even want to get into that.
Groceries.
I don't want to get into that because we don't have that much time. But like when I say, like again, always be doing something. That's what we're doing with the podcast. We
Not necessarily.
We ended up just kickstarting it. But what we did one day, we had all these ideas going.
Always do something. What about
we went to Best Buy.
Taking a moment to sit and not do anything.
That's great.
Amongst the everything.
And collect your ideas. That's important.
Well,
time is important.
That's why doing nothing in important time is so important.
And that happened.
It's looking time in the face and
that's
going,
a stage.
Home.
That's a stage of it, right?
Dude.
That's like the beginning stage is doing nothing. The beginning stage is doing nothing, and that turns into doing something. That's like where you kind of
the doers
collect your intent.
That's careful with that though, because I mean the scales of life is be, do, and get as far as I have measured it. Yeah. And if you're always putting stuff on do, you got to take time to sort of enjoy the fruits.
You enjoy the journey.
You only have the right to labor.
Yeah.
So that is my right. My right is to do.
Yeah. Well,
I agree with you there. My right is to do. But I also will revel when I get a little bit because, it's so nice. And then when you're doing that, sometimes you get to actually enjoy being. So, like, the thing with the podcast is like, no, I get to have a friend that's sweet enough that is like, no, dude, I would record the shit out of you. And it's like, you would? Ah, shucks. And then you get over it. And you're like, no, we should actually do that.
Yeah.
And it's like, it really is that at first. Because it's like, I don't know anything. Like, what if we did, though?
Yeah.
Because it's...
Well, I just kept buying stuff. It was always something that I wanted to do.
I had forged ahead.
I had an initial idea. I got some lavalier mics, and I wanted to record it with the phone, and I wanted to travel around the island, and I wanted to record stuff outside, which we're still gonna do eventually. I want to do an episode like on top of Mount Benson or some shit. But I'm gonna keep going. But that idea, we scrapped it, and then one day we all end up going to Best Buy together. We had a little brainstorm. Me, you, Bruce. We all had a brainstorm. We got together. We had some action. We went to Best Buy. We ended up getting this mic, which ended up being the Kickstarter to actually record the first episode. And then we just jump-started from there. Since we did that first episode, it was like a boom, 1,000% increase of everything. And we just kind of... And then that is where I learned so much, producing all of those first episodes.
Yes.
That's a huge learning experience. And when you're just doing something like that, you learn exponentially. Yep. And it's just like...
Do it.
And you do it, and then you look up things about doing it, and then because you're passionate about those things, you just keep watching, you just keep learning.
You get the return of the doing that you did, and then eventually that doing and getting starts to fall over, and then you be the guy that is good at doing the audio stuff.
Exactly.
When initially it started, it was like, I just kept saying, just gonna fucking do it.
Exactly.
I know I don't know how to do it, but you just sit with it for 6 hours and get one thing clicked and go like, oh. Yeah. And then a million of those later, you're shortcuts and you know all of it.
And that's what happened. Like I was basically a monkey with computers just in general. But now
in the computer?
But now I'm a lot better. And it's all because of this podcast.
If you ever do a
that's
podcast
what it's all about.
That you just have audio for, if we ever do things around
we did one of those episodes.
I know, but if we ever go around the island, strap your GoPro up to me, and we could do motorcycle footage up to wherever we're going, because I mean, I could tag team you with your car.
There's stuff like that we can do.
We could do something like that. Then you'd have footage that you could put like the audio stuff over top of.
Of course.
I think it'd be neat. I'd love to see what that looks like, just to see if people. As far as like putting audio over something moving that's dry, that's a beautiful. Because
I bought a drone, so we can. I told you about the drone, so we can get some really cool drone shots and potentially do stuff like that.
That'd be neat.
Yeah, the camera's almost done. But,
okay.
So we're basically gonna wrap this up, but I think this was fun. I think this was a good episode. Yeah, podcasts are fun, guys. If there's a thing, you can start your own. You can start your own podcast on Anchor. It's easy. It's just an app. You can just hold a button and you can record an episode. Anchor. It can be 1 minute long. It can be 30 minutes long. It's a thing. But
it's a thing. Look into it.
It's a thing. Everybody should start doing it.
Look into it.
Everybody should start watching more podcasts and take it easy, guys. I think the camera's dead, but everybody just take it easy. And thanks for tuning in if you're here still.
Taking it easy.
And from now on, if you are listening to this, it's going to be on YouTube, obviously. We're going to highlight stuff on Facebook, but it's we're also going to try to be on Spotify and SoundCloud and hopefully Anchor, like I just mentioned. So that's a lot of platforms.
Please say subscribe and like.
So that's a lot of platforms. And if you're on YouTube, definitely subscribe and like, you motherfuckers. If you're here, why aren't you subscribed? Definitely do it. Do it. Come on.
Yeah, do it.
Do it. But you don't have to. Totally, you don't have to.
You have to.
Okay, you do.
I will come to your house and attack you if you don't.
You do actually have to, but Logan says that. I actually don't say that. So.
No, we both say it.
So take it easy, guys.